Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Tim Miller, and I'm the Marketing and Graphics Specialist for Hydra Unlimited. Also joining us today is our Business Development Manager, Sean Burnett, co-founder and engineer, Dan Campo, design engineer, Scott Clute, and manufacturing engineer, Jason Morgan, all of whom will be answering your questions after the presentation. You can find the question tab in your control panel on the right side of your screen, so feel free to ask any questions during the presentation. So with that, I'll hand it off to Sean.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Hello, everybody. My name is Sean Burnett, and I'm the Business Development Manager here at Hydra Unlimited. I oversee creation and management of business relations and new opportunities, and I work with various departments to create new projects and explore solutions for cultivation. So I've been with Hydra Unlimited since its birth in 2018 and with our parent company since 2015, and I have loved every minute of it. Even with the crisis going on, our team has stayed strong and continues to work on projects from their home office. Now, there's no denying this pandemic has slowed operations, but we are adapting immensely. As I mentioned before, most of our team has been able to work from home since March, and we believe we will be much stronger when life returns to normal. We are certainly looking forward to trade shows where we can showcase our innovative products and talk plants with the people that know them best. Our decision to enter this industry came in fall 2018, and we've been in for a wild ride ever since. Our first steps were to bring our existing products to a local trade show and find our niche, and we did just that. So today we continue to have amazing success with our HydraFlex circulation system and two extremely exciting products releasing later this year. Now, before I get too ahead of myself, I'd like to introduce one of the company's founders and a renowned inventor, Mr. Dan Campo. Dan, take it away.
Thanks, Sean. I'll give a little background on our company. We've been in business nearly 40 years. We design, manufacture, and market proprietary fluid handling systems and components. Our specialty is in the field of fluidics, a branch of fluid mechanics, which enables us to design fluid sensors and systems with a minimum of mechanical and electrical parts. This increases system reliability and keeps cost to a minimum. While we're new to the field of hydroponics, the fact is we're experts at keeping things alive and healthy in water. For over 30 years, we've supplied the OEM marine industry with live well systems that control circulation and aeration to keep fish and bait alive and healthy. Well, plants and hydroponic systems also need circulation and aeration to stay alive and thrive. So we've taken our live well experience and applied it to hydroponics. And the result is our new HydraFlex system. I'll turn the discussion back over to Sean, who can give you more details. Sean, take it away.
Thank you, Dan. Now, before I move on, I want to speak on the company culture a bit. And I think I speak for all associates when I say Dan's drive for quality innovations and efficiency has set the stage for an extremely motivating and positive company culture. We thrive on 4 core values, and those are think beyond tomorrow, help first, question and improve, and love what you do. And we find that these values cover all the bases of a happy and healthy organization. By exemplifying one of these values, associates can give out shout outs to one another on a public platform, which ultimately are converted into a monetary point. These rewards aside, the real reward is building a community of people that are all on the same page, constantly sharing the same visions. Personally, the biggest change I noticed after taking these values on was seeing people actively engaged in the company's actions, where people are being heard and they realize they're not only making a difference, but helping guide this company in a positive direction. Eventually, you start to see the culture making an impact on everybody's morale and the attitude and desire to do great things, not only in our building, but outside of our 4 walls. In 2018, we began a hire initiative to give more to our community, and in 2019, we recorded 1,031 volunteer hours from 130 associates. We saved 159 lives from blood donations, and 17 organizations were able to benefit from our offer of time. Now, these feats have helped us gain West Michigan's 101 Best and Brightest Award 3 years running now. And I am truly proud to say I work for a company with such an outstanding culture, and I look forward to giving more at the next opportunity. So the question is, what is deep water culture? Often referred to as DWC, this is just one of the many methods of hydroponics and specifically defined as a method of growing plants in a nutrient-rich oxygenated water instead of soil. Some experts consider this to be the purest form of hydroponics, and for a few good reasons. As we step through the different levels of DWC, or deep water culture, we'll dive into what makes this method so special. All right, so let's take a look at a basic example of a deep water culture system. In this example, a plant is suspended in a net pot through the lid of a 5-gallon bucket. As you can see, the roots are submerged in the water. You want this water to be pure of nutrients and minerals at 0 parts per million, so you can perfect the nutrient dosing to your plant's desired levels. A small air pump and air stone deliver just the right amount of oxygen to your roots, and over time, the water will absorb the water and nutrients, and you will need to replenish these to maintain a healthy life cycle. Here we've added a second plant with a dual output air pump and 2 air stones. Since the buckets are not connected, pure water and nutrients will need to be added to each bucket. A larger air pump with multiple outlets allows for multiple plants. However, this can quickly become difficult to maintain as each bucket has to be cared for individually. Which brings us to the next level of deep water culture, recirculated deep water culture. What we've done here is to add a reservoir bucket and then link them all together with hose. The reason you want to do this is because this gives us the benefit of a centralized and controlled tank to add your many variables. You no longer need to add nutrients to each bucket individually, and water nutrients can now be added to the reservoir and it will be circulated through the system. This is especially helpful when you add more buckets to your system. Now, there are many ways to control recirculation, but in this particular example, we put a submersible water pump into the reservoir with a piece of hose that pumps water to the bucket on the right, which causes the water to recirculate through the entire system. Now let's take a look at the next improvement. In this setup, we've expanded the system to 6 plants. A larger air pump with 6 outlets delivers oxygen to each plant through an air stone. This time, an externally mounted water pump circulates water from the reservoir to a T-fitting, which then flows through 2 rows of buckets back to another T, and then back to the pump where water is returned to the reservoir. By moving the pump outside the reservoir, you avoid additional warmth the pump may be putting into the water that your plants don't like, and you help the chiller do its job better. All right, so now let's take things a bit further. This is a system with similar principles, but now we've replaced the regular 5-gallon buckets with larger 8-gallon buckets. And by doing this, you allow more space for growth. We've also replaced much of the hose with larger PVC pipe to allow the water to flow more freely. And each lid has a hinged flap that allows easier inspection of each bucket, including the reservoir. These professional style systems are tailored to provide you with all the tools needed for day-to-day operation. An inspection port is added to visually monitor your root health, and by standardizing other variables like bucket spacing, pipe size, and pump size, you can rest assured your deep water culture system is providing your plants optimal specs to grow the healthiest plants possible. Modularity is also popular among these systems. If you feel your plants require a different flow or more spacing for certain lights, simply swap out a pump or connections for larger spacing. The possibilities are unlimited. Now for my favorite part, what is Hydra Unlimited doing for this market? So in June of 2019, we officially launched into the marketplace after many growth cycles with our prototype system. This system showed incredible advancements over air stones and air pumps and traditional recirculating deep water culture methods. We decided it was time to open the gates. The system was the HydraFlex retrofit circulation system. And since its launch, we have never failed to keep a promise on its results. The system has continued to outperform traditional aeration by giving you more yield and reduced grow time. So much so, it seems we may be revolutionizing the idea of recirculating deep water culture altogether. But don't just take it from me. I'd like to officially introduce one of our project engineers who ran all the tests, Mr. Scott Clute. Scott, the floor is yours.
Hey, thanks, Sean. My name's Scott Clute. I'm one of the design engineers here at Hydra Unlimited. I'm one of the guys responsible for designing the HydraFlex system. I was there at the inception and followed it all the way through launch. So I'm going to start out talking about the components of the HydraFlex system. So the cornerstone of the system is the HydraFlex circulator. What the circulator does is it's what injects water directly from the plumbing system into the bucket. And you'll get one of these circulators for each pot and each plant. So each plant gets optimum dissolved oxygen and nutrient mix. The next part of the system, moving down the line, are the manifolds. The manifolds are connected to the circulators via flexible tubing. You'll get about 2 feet of that per circulator, and you can cut that to whatever length you need. There are clamps on that are really easily put on and taken off by hand, no tools required. What the manifold does is it splits the water. So the water coming out of the main feed line will get distributed to circulators, either 4, 2, or 1 circulator via the manifold. It has a leak-free valved quick connect coupling so that you can disconnect that manifold and disconnect those circulators without getting any sort of water on the floor, no leaks, no water spraying all over your room. And then at the end of your supply line, you'll have a large 1-inch ball valve. And that's there so that you can either purge out any air or clean out your lines. Make sure you don't have any buildup in the end of your feed line. So the feed line itself is a 1-inch line that runs from the manifolds all the way back to your pump. The pump is a Danner 2600 mag drive centrifugal pump. These are really nice pumps. They run continuously with 0 maintenance. They're very quiet and they're made of all stainless steel components, so you don't have to worry about any sort of corrosion. On top of that pump is what we call the pump control stack. And what that is a series of valves and T's. What that does is it allows you to really easily purge any air and prime that pump. Being a centrifugal pump, priming the pump is always difficult. So this gives you a way to do that easily. The pump's going to pull water out of your reservoir, and we do include a pre-filter on that so that you can very easily pull that filter out, clean it by hand, or replace it without any special instructions or tools needed. So the way the HydraFlex works is it pulls water directly from the reservoir and distributes it evenly to each plant in parallel flow. So the plants closest to the pump don't get more nutrients than the plants further away. When water enters the circulator, it goes through a venturi that is specifically designed to mix air and water at the optimal ratio for the plants. So this results in really turbulent flow within your bucket, which mixes the nutrients really well within that bucket. So that whole bucket is mixed well. It also tends to exercise your roots. So it keeps your roots moving around, makes the roots stronger. And the root balls tend to be smaller because that very densely nutrient-rich water is mixed very well, and it creates turbulent flow within your bucket. What that does is it prevents your roots from having to search and grow into your piping systems and clog things up. It also tends to create a stronger root because it's being exercised by that turbulent flow. It tends to clean the roots off so they're cleaner and they don't get that bacteria growth on them. And because of this, it makes the roots more efficient. So they don't have to grow as big. Your roots typically aren't going to fill up the entire bucket like you can see in other deep water culture systems. The roots are smaller because they're more efficient, they're happier. So the HydraFlex system is very, very adaptable the way it is. Its use of quick connects, its use of couplers, readily available tubing and clamps make it so that you can customize it to almost any layout up to 24 site. If you have an application larger than 24 site, please contact Sean and he should be able to help you out. So Thanks very much for listening. And I'm going to hand it off to Jason here. Jason's one of our manufacturing engineers that I work very closely with in developing the HydraFlex system. He's responsible for the way all the components are put together, how they're assembled at the plant, and just the overall fit and finish of the product that comes to your door. Jason's also got a lot of experience growing, so he was able to do a lot of our testing for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. As Scott said, my name is Jason Morgan, and I am a manufacturing engineer here at Hydra Unlimited. Part of my job responsibilities are to determine the components, equipment, and procedures needed to produce a finished good from raw products and components. I've been an avid gardener for past 20 years now. I've always had vegetable gardens, flower gardens, tried some fruit trees. Didn't work out so well. Like most people, I started off buying my sprouted plants from nurseries and greenhouses and then growing them from there. As I got a little further into the hobby, I started sprouting my own seeds outside and then moved into sprouting my seeds early in the spring inside under fluorescent lights. This was mainly because I'd like to get my tomatoes a little earlier than after Mother's Day. After a couple of years of sprouting my own seeds, I decided to put in an indoor garden so I could have fresh vegetables year round. Now, previous to the HydraFlex, I did have some ideas and understanding of what it took to grow in hydroponics, but I was always a little bit nervous about the difficulties in controlling the nutrient levels, the ppms, and all that needs to be maintained when growing in water rather than dirt. After we started introducing the HydraFlex system, I decided it'd be a good opportunity for me to get some experience and possibly beta test out some of our equipment. So I then installed one of our HydraFlex in my indoor garden and have found to my surprise that controlling and maintaining all your various variables for hydroponics is a lot easier than doing the same in dirt. With my in-bucket monitoring, I have real-time readouts of my ppms, my EC, my pH levels, water temperature. With that, our HydraFlex nutrient dosing system allows me to introduce all of my nutrients one at a time and instantaneously within 10 to 15 seconds see the nutrient level balance out and know where my variables are at. I found the deep water culture and the HydraFlex have been amazing. My plants look a lot healthier. They're growing a lot taller, stronger, and producing significantly larger fruits and vegetables and flowers. The HydraFlex is extremely modular and easily cleanable. You can pull it apart within 15, 20 minutes, scrub each and every component with a bottle brush or a rag or whatever you would like, and then put it all back together. Like I said, within 20 minutes. I usually take roughly about an hour and I do a good deep cleaning after I drain all my water out. Now, as exciting as the HydraFlex has been to work with, I'm really looking forward to the new products we're developing. We're constantly throwing ideas around back and forth and putting our knowledge and understanding of deep water culture in play when we're developing the various products that we're going to offer here at Hydra Unlimited. It's always exciting to see your ideas and concepts turn out in the final product and be a viable solution to an issue that someone may be having. Now, with that said, I'd like to turn it back over to Sean, and I hope everyone has a great day and enjoys the rest of the seminar.
Thank you, Jason and Scott. And with that, I will move to conclude the webinar. And I think we are going to answer any questions. So I will bring it back over to Tim to see if we have any.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Yeah, we do have some questions here. Let's see. Start here. Sean, this one's probably for you. Says, why is HydraFlex better than air stones?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. That's a really good question. It's almost comparing apples to oranges. So looking at an air stone, it's got one primary function, and that's oxygenation. So with that, a lot of people, that's its only primary function. And with that, it does get dirty. Typically, people can only use them for one cycle. I've heard people deep cleaning them. They wash them with bleach or hydrogen peroxide. I've heard people grinding them. The point is they do a job, but they're not great at what they do. So with the HydraFlex, you're looking at really a piece of equipment. So it's a lot easier to clean. It does provide better aeration, and you also get the recirculation piece with it. So it's in the blacklight video that we did, you can really show how quick those nutrients are turned around in that system that the air stones just don't do.
Good. All right. Next question. Is this system compatible with any DWC system? Scott, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure, Tim. So yeah, for the most part, the HydraFlex is compatible with about any deep water culture system. Your requirements are you have to have a reservoir to pull water from, and we need to be able to fit the circulators in your bucket. So they'll fit in a standard 5-gallon bucket. The big square easy store RoPack buckets, they fit in those. So whether you have a DIY setup or a professional setup, yes, we're compatible with just about anything.
All right. We got a few more questions here. How do you flex system? That's probably a good one for Jason.
Yeah, basically, you can run any kind of cleaner that you would through your DW system, or DWC system, excuse me. Any normal cleaner, your hydrogen peroxide, your bleach, your nutrient stripper can go right through there, and then it can all be broken down. The individual components pulled apart, and you can run a plastic bottle brush through it, maybe a cloth or a rag, Q-tip, something like that. Any way you would basically clean your dishes, you can clean a HydraFlex system just as easy.
All right. Let's see. I have an 8-bucket system now. Do you make a kit for that? Sean, how about you take that one?
Yeah, I can take that. So we do have a couple different layouts. Our primary systems being the 4 and the 12 site system. We also offer a 2 and a 1 site expansion kit. So really customization is pretty simple. We don't have all these systems on the website, but we can make whatever system you have. It's really just throwing some parts and pieces together. Like I said, we got the 4-port manifold, and then we have the 2 and the 1. So any layout up to 24 right now, and then anything beyond 24 will just, it would need another pump. But yeah, we do like to do that. We like to customize to your system. That's the whole beauty of deep water culture is so many people can do so many different things. As long as you get your flow rates and all your variables in check, what you want, then we have a system for that.
Okay. Here's another one that just popped up. This might be for you also, or anybody who wants to take it. It says, how about the yields? How much more can it produce? And I'm interested in the roots being so much smaller and not filling the bucket up. Do you have a website? I could look at some pictures.
Yeah, I can take this. And then Jason, being our expert grower, I'd love to have his feedback afterwards. But what Scott had mentioned in his bit that you're making your roots more efficient. So with it's kind of common, the larger the roots, the larger the fruits. But this doesn't seem to be the case with the HydraFlex. You're making them much more efficient in terms of the energy they're using to search for nutrients and oxygen. And also, I guess I can say we've seen really anywhere, the average seems to be about 10 to 15% increase in yield over air stones or over diffusers. And grow time has been, we've seen roughly anywhere from 3 days to, we've seen the most, I believe, was 9 days. So if if you got multiple rooms, then you may be able to fit an extra cycle in, per year. But yeah, I'd love to hear, Jason, if you wouldn't mind giving some feedback on what you've seen over traditional deep water or even dirt. I know you used to grow in dirt a lot.
Sure, Sean. Thank you very much. Yes, as far as the roots grow, typically, as Sean said, it is correct. The larger your roots, the larger your fruit. And that's primarily with well, as I remember it, in the dirt portion of growing. What I've experienced going from growing in dirt to growing in deep water culture is I'm roughly up about a third of my yield. So I'm up probably a third more than what I used to get in dirt. I get a third more now in deep water culture. My roots, when I used to break all my dirt up, after the season and get it all mixed up and cleaning everything up, I'd noticed my root balls, were nice and spread out in the dirt. They reach, good 3-4 foot everywhere. With deep water culture, I've noticed the roots themselves are a lot thicker and stronger, especially towards the top, towards the stem. And then the searcher roots, or what I like to call the fishbone roots, seem to be a lot more defined. And what I mean by that is you can see that fishbone lattice structure a lot more defined in the deep water culture roots than you can in the dirt roots. Even though, even when you wash the roots off and check them out, whatever I do from beginning to end, I like to look at all of the results. So I'll take and see what happened, underneath. With the root balls being smaller in water, as Sean or Scott was saying earlier, they're getting worked a lot more because of the turbulence of that water. So they're basically making themselves like lifting weights. They're making themselves strong. They don't need to grow big and try to reach and find the nutrients because the dispersion, our 100% saturation of the oxygen in our water or close to it, lets those nutrients be dispersed, evenly and consistently throughout that water. So those roots basically, whenever they need something or whenever they decide they want a certain chemical, mineral, whatever it may be, it's right there at their grasp. They don't have to look for it. They don't need to strive to get it. It's automatically given it to them, allowing them to use more of their energy to produce the bigger roots, the bigger fruits, the bigger stalks, and less energy looking for the nutrients and the things it needs. And I hope that answers the person's question.
Yeah, very good. We probably have time for one more, maybe two more. Here's one that says, how does this affect your system if you're using CO2? And the air pump is, I don't see the rest of the question, but I think you get it. Whoever wants to take that one.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of experience with this. A lot of people ask that, being a Venturi system, we're pulling oxygen from, or, just air in general. We're pulling that from the top of the bucket. So if you are using elevated CO2, we do have an outside air line that we're working on so that you can route that air from outside the room. Also, if you do, a lot of people use air systems with, they'll put their air pump in a room with it, enriched oxygen levels. You can do the same thing there. If you have the line already plumbed for that air, you can really just remove that air pump from that room, connect all the lines to the HydraFlex circulators, and then it will use that venturi. It'll suck that oxygen from that other room. So yeah, that's no problem adapting to a CO2 room.
Okay, and we're out of time, but we have one more question. I think we can squeeze it in. It should be an easy one. It says, how is this adaptable to use with the current culture buckets?
Yeah,
Again.
I could probably answer that too. So that one, I think most people know current culture is, they are the professional deep water culture on the market right now. And we did most of our testing with them when we released. So, with just deep water culture in general and our scope, we looked at current culture and really tried to adapt with their system. We've run flow diagrams with their design. We designed the bracket with them in mind. And also, like I said a second ago, you can, if you have your airline system already plumbed in there, you can mate those 1/4-inch lines for your air stones. You can mate those with the HydraFlex line. And then, like I said, if your pump is in another room or even just in the front of the system, you can remove that pump from that line and just keep that master line in there. And the venturi it'll continue to maintain the same level of air as it would if you didn't have a 5-foot line or a 10-foot line, whatever it may be. That venturi is always pushing out a 1-to-1 ratio of water, so you never have to worry about it.
All right, good. Well, we have run over time a little bit, but I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this morning. If you have any more questions, don't hesitate to send us an email or a phone call. You can get all that right on our website, hydraunlimited.com. And I guess with that, we will conclude.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care, everyone.